and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on episode 2 of Mahou Shoujo Madoka Magica. If you would like to watch along, then start watching now. So we get a brief introduction here, where the girl from last time, Mami Tomoe, made a contract with Kyubei to become a magical girl, and Kyubei wants Sayaka and Madoka to also make contracts with him. However, Madoka also wakes up after the sequence, making it seem like it too was a dream, even though it's what happened last episode. Of course, Kyubei was waiting in her room to sort of dispel the idea that it was in fact a dream, creepily enough. So Madoka has her morning talk with her mom, and things are a bit strained because apparently she got in late last night. Obviously she can't tell her mother precisely what was going on, but it seems like in some regard she doesn't have to, because apparently Kyubei is invisible to her mom, and I guess by extension adults, or those not eligible to be magical girls. So sometime later, Mami invites Sayaka and Madoka over. Despite, I guess, having a nice apartment and everything, Mami makes it clear that she lives by herself, which I think is fairly unusual for a girl her age. So Mami's sort of giving a quick rundown on what's what. She shows off her soul gem, which she says is something that gets created when you make a contract, and it's the source of their power as a magical girl. Kyubei also says that in exchange for signing the contract, he'll grant them a wish, and that wish can be anything. Of course, once you make the contract, your responsibility then is to fight witches. Witches presumably being the monster they were in the thrall of last episode. So Madoka floats the idea about, if you could have any wish granted, what would it be? To her mother. and a lot of her wishes are related to her job. I guess somewhat unusually in culture, I guess. Madoka's mom appears to be the breadwinner of the family, where her father is a stay-at-home dad. So Kyubey is now giving a little explanation on what the deal is with wishes and witches and all that. So the way he describes it, witches and magical girls are sort of counterparts in that a wish creates a magical girl, whereas a curse creates a witch. And I guess it's this sort of relationship that necessitates magical girls being used as hunters of witches. So interestingly enough, Mami Tomoe herself is advising Madoka and Sayaka to exercise caution before making a contract. Mami cautions them that witch fighting is serious business, but perhaps the best way to help them decide is for them to tag along with her while she hunts a few, and maybe getting an idea of the actual danger will help inform their decision. So it seems like my earlier assertion was true in that only certain people eligible to becoming magical girls can see Kyubey. Because Hitomi, Sayaka, and Madoka's friend can't see him, even though he's just perched on Madoka's shoulder. So Hitomi sort of, misunderstands the situation and comes to the wrong conclusion about the new relationship between Madoka and Sayaka. So I wonder if that sort of straining of their relationship as friends, if that was sort of fuel for later events. Of course, I say this with the knowledge of what happens later, but I can't help but wonder if this was sort of like the first domino to fall. So Mami, Sayaka, and Madoka are all sort of talking through Kyubey's telepathy. And they're sort of talking about Homura and how Homura's dangerous, but she's probably not the type to attack him in public. So Mami also complicates things by saying there's no doubt Homura is not only a magical girl, but a powerful one, but things aren't so simple as good versus evil. Homura may or may not be, good. So Mami also makes it clear that magical girls aren't immune from infighting over the spoils of battle against witches. And it's very possible in Mami's mind that Homura might be the type to do that. So the teacher is giving an English lecture on the active and passive voice, and once again she sort of talks about her relationship issues. I guess it's not really important, but some of that sort of feeds into later plot points and how things start to go wrong. So Sayaka and Madoka are sort of discussing what their potential wishes could be. But at this point, Sayaka is of the opinion that nothing she wants is currently worth risking her life fighting witches. Now, notably, at this stage in the game, Sayaka has the self-awareness to know that there are people who want something or are in a position where risking their life would be worth for whatever benefit they would get from the wish. Notably, Sayaka seems to have a person in mind when she's saying this. So Homura confronts Madoka and Sayaka on the rooftop. But rather than to fight, Homura's just here to sort of talk to them. So Homer is just sort of banking on the fact that her cryptic warning to Madoka from the other day will keep the status quo, so to speak. Madoka sort of blurts out and asks Homer what she wished for when she became a magical girl, but Homer doesn't really give her an answer and just sort of walks off. The implication being that she was in a position where it was life or death either way. So things continue to get a little more complicated for their friend Hitomi as they tell her they're running errands. And the previous conversation, which is still having an effect on her, upset her further. So naturally, this errand is witch hunting with Mami. Sayaka has taken the effort to prepare, and she's brought a baseball bat with her with which to fight witches. Although whether or not that's actually something that'll be effective has yet to be seen. Madoka has prepared in a less practical way. But interestingly enough, there's a fair bit of foreshadowing in the costumes she's drawn. So Mami breaks down the process for hunting witches, and it's pretty simple in that you just need to sort of track it on foot, and that your soul gem can be used as a dowsing rod. So as they continue hunting the witch, Mami indicates that witches can often be found in rather dark and despondent places like hospitals, places where people often kill themselves and things like that. So it seems like witches, more than anything, are creatures of despair. And, true to form, just as they pick up the aura of a witch, there's a woman who tosses herself off a building. Now, Mami, using her magical girl powers, intervenes and saves the woman. So it's become clear that the woman who tried to kill herself was clearly under the effects of a witch, and I guess it's possible she wouldn't have acted that way otherwise. So now they're sort of crossing the threshold. Beyond this barrier, they're in the witch's domain, where they can fight and kill it. Mami's instructed the others to stay close to her, because that way she has a decent chance of protecting them. Otherwise, they are very likely to be killed. So far, they're progressing through the witch's labyrinth, and Mami is able to fight off all the witch's familiars with relative ease. So the deeper they go into the witch's labyrinth, the more and more surreal it becomes. And finally at the center, they come across what is presumably the witch. And to say it's unsettling on multiple levels would be an understatement. especially due to the mixed media that it has. Because it appears to be photos of real objects that are sort of stitched together in Photoshop. Of course, Mami is entirely confident that she has the power to be able to kill it. And she's able to keep it on the ropes pretty much from the get-go. So the witch is able to sort of fight back and bash her around into the surroundings, but notably, Mami is largely unfazed. And she takes the opportunity to sort of ensnare the witch. In doing so, she paralyzes it for long enough to get a kill shot and destroy the whole thing. So I guess the really important takeaway here is that due to being a magical girl, Mami is superhumanly durable. You know, being bashed around like that would very likely kill an ordinary person. So now we're also introduced to one of the main conflicts here. The witch dies and they get what's called a grief seed. And interestingly enough, Mami's soul gem is now duller in color than it was before. It glows less brightly. And when exposed to the grief seed, it regains its luster. Mami also calls out Homura, who appears to have been following them. Notably, Homura denies Mami in her accusation about only being in it for the grief seed by returning it. So the dynamic between the three of them and Homura is still sort of unclear as to the exact nature of it. The only thing that is clear is that they're antagonistic or, at best, standoffish with each other. So notably, Madoka hasn't really come to a conclusion about what she wants for her wish. All she knows is that she wants to be like Mami. Alright, that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means tune in for the next one. See you, Space Cowboy.